Bradford and Teddy Bridgewater had extremely similar numbers throughout this season. And I'm pretty sure that even the general fan who just casually follows football, let alone someone who watches Philadelphia Eagle games, would tell you that Sam Bradford, the season he had this year, should never be labeled a Pro Bowl season. The only difference is how many games those two quarterbacks' teams won. That's the only difference. This isn't an MVP voting award. This isn't a value thing. This is a Pro Bowler. Individuals who are extreme professionals. Now, like I said, the main problem is you've got so many people not just not participating in the game, having to be replaced because they're in the Super Bowl the following week or because they have injury, because honestly that really isn't that many. Half of the players who are missing because of injury could play, or at least could show up and participate in some capacity, but they simply don't want to, and so they use the injury excuse. But the vast majority of it is players just simply not wanting to go, not wanting to participate. They went through alternate after alternate at the quarterback position to finally get to Teddy Bridgewater in the final, who they were all going to have on the team. I want to say of the six, that there were 6 quarterbacks voted to the Pro Bowl team originally, and now there are 8 quarterbacks on the final team. And of the 6 that were, made it off of the actual voting of who really was a Pro Bowler, only one of those 6 is actually going to be in the game this upcoming Sunday. So, while it seems like the new, having all of them in a pool and drafting them and getting to see, Richard Sherman play against Russell Wilson, make an interception on Russell Wilson, hypothetically, for example, it has sparked some fan interest back in it again, but clearly there's been little to nothing to change and rejuvenate the player interest in being a part of it. And as long as that problem continues, then the product won't get better. It's, you can't expect it to change. We're going to continue to get less than qualified people, a less than entertaining game, and, ultimately whatever, little bit of re-energized interest that's coming up from the fan side will go away again, and this game will be in danger of becoming extinct. Now, honestly, I think they could still have the Pro Bowl team, the Pro Bowl honor, without playing an actual game. I don't see what is lost at all in that. So I don't know. Don't be surprised if that happens sometime within the next, 5 years or so, in my opinion. I'm not saying it will, but it wouldn't shock me one bit if, as I mentioned a moment ago, if the real Pro Bowl caliber players continue to not be a part of the event. Well, if you're keeping count, that is 2 items here in Balls on Fire, and I mentioned I had a trifecta, a Balls on Fire triangle of topics for you for tonight's 50th episode. So let's get to the third and final one of those, and then we will continue with the many other stories and things to discuss in a fairly in a balls deep, but efficient, timely balls deep manner this week. Now our third topic brings us to the fabulous world of pro wrestling. That's right, as you know, I am a big pro wrestling fan, and I have been on a pro wrestling high for the last several days. We had my favorite well, usually at least my favorite annual pay-per-view in the WWE, that being the Royal Rumble pay-per-view that took place this past Sunday. In the main event Royal Rumble match, the then champion Roman Reigns was forced to participate in the match and defend his title in that match. He made it to the final four, I believe. Yes, he either made it to the final four or final three, but he was eliminated by entrant number 30, who ended up winning the Royal Rumble, and that would be the Game, the Cerebral Assassin, the King of Kings, Triple H. No, you haven't accidentally hopped in a DeLorean or a blue British phone booth and gone back in time to the late 1990s or early 2000s. Triple H is wrestling in the WWE again, albeit part-time for WrestleMania season. Probably not much beyond that. But lo and behold, he was your odds-on favorite from Vegas to win, as me and my WWE expert, Doug Sanders, informed you on last week's Royal Rumble preview show. But the surprising things from that match were the fact that the second to last person in the ring, or I should say the last person to be eliminated, the final two people were Triple H and Dean Ambrose, of all people. It was not Triple H and Roman Reigns. So that was a little bit interesting. I think the biggest thing, the thing that got the biggest pop, or at least a response from the crowd at the Royal Rumble, in the Royal Rumble match as well, was the debut of pro wrestler, former TNA star, former Ring of Honor star, former NJPW star, one AJ Styles. That's right, the phenomenal one, AJ Styles, is now wrestling in the WWE. That's kind of on the same level as like Sting wrestling in the WWE. He's not quite as, historic and legendary and iconic, obviously, but as far as being renowned and successful and, in promotions except WWE, very similar in those ways. He debuted in the Royal Rumble match. It's his first feud as of right now is going with Chris Jericho. That's right, Chris Jericho is back in the WWE as well. No, we were not in the late 90s, early 2000s. By the way, The Rock came back on Monday Night Raw and is going to be at WrestleMania in some capacity. We just don't know what capacity. I still think that somehow the main event of WrestleMania is The Rock versus Triple H for the title. But it's looking like Roman Reigns is going to in fact be wrestling Triple H for the title at WrestleMania, because it was announced on Raw this past Monday that there will be a triple threat match at Fastlane to determine the number one contender to take on Triple H, and that match will be Brock Lesnar, Dean Ambrose, and Roman Reigns. Now, this just makes the Authority look like the biggest group of morons ever, because they hate all three of those guys and don't want any of them to be champ, and I mean, come on, Triple H is owned by Brock. They've wrestled plenty of times in the last couple of years, and Brock owns that matchup, and Roman's the one they've been trying to get the title from and stuff, and so I mean, it just makes the Authority look really dumb, really, really dumb. It's bad writing, and like I said, I think somehow, some way, The Rock is going to come in and save all this and end up being the one to take him on. Don't know what this leaves for Roman on our road to WrestleMania, but it is clear to us after Royal Rumble that Brock Lesnar's storyline for WrestleMania involves him versus Bray Wyatt and the rest of the Wyatt family, as I predicted way back in November. As a matter of fact, I tweeted that prediction in November that Bray Wyatt would be Brock Lesnar's opponent at the upcoming WrestleMania, and it's almost 100% looking like that is going to in fact be the case. But some other recapping of events of what happened at the Royal Rumble pay-per-view outside of the big Royal Rumble match. There were some other matches. Picked the kickoff show correctly. Mark Henry and Jack Swagger won to gain entrance into the Royal Rumble, where they, were both in the ring about a grand total of 90 seconds before they were eliminated, so ultimately pointless. First match of the night was the Intercontinental Championship match. It was a last man standing match with defending champ Dean Ambrose against Kevin Owens. That match was a fantastic opener. Loved it. But Dean Ambrose won and retained his title. That was followed by, was the New Day next? Or was that the Kalisto? Yeah, I think New Day Usos were after that. The match was okay. New Day wins, retains their titles, of course. Then Kalisto and Del Rio. Kalisto retains the United States title. Del Rio is looking to expect him to be written into, as predicted on this show. Don't be surprised if they take the belt off Del Rio because they're desperate, to put him in a bigger match. Then that would likely make the United States title match at WrestleMania similar to last year's Intercontinental ladder match. It'd have a bunch of guys in it. That's where I think we're going with that. But so anyway, Kalisto is your United States champion, not Alberto Del Rio. Your Divas champion is still Charlotte, defeating Becky Lynch. Sasha Banks, however, reemerged back from injury at this show, looking like at Fastlane it will be a triple threat match between Sasha, Becky, and Charlotte. Look for Charlotte to retain there, I would think. And then going into the show of shows, we will have an hopefully epic one-on-one Divas match where Divas champion Charlotte will take on Sasha Banks and lose her title to the Boss. Pretty sure that's where they're going, the direction they're going in that division for the road to WrestleMania as well. And again, just a friendly reminder, if you're one of those wrestling fans who actually watches SmackDown or tries to on a fairly week-to-week basis, and you're wondering where the heck it is on the USA Network. It is no longer on the Sci-Fi Channel. It has moved to the USA Network, the same network that Monday Night Raw is on. So there's that too. But I think that's all the WWE specific wrestling news we're going to bring up for tonight. We can save more of the WrestleMania matchup prediction stuff for our next couple weeks worth of shows as well. But we gave you what we know that's going on and happened in Royal Rumble and Raw and SmackDown, and what's coming up at Fastlane that we know about, and where we're at on the road to WrestleMania now. However, the thing in the wrestling world, pro wrestling community, that I'm most fired up about, I've been fired up about ever since the first night I watched it, almost a year ago, is Lucha Underground Season 2 premiered tonight on the El Rey Network, my new favorite network, just because it has Lucha Underground on it. But for those of you who are not familiar with it, Lucha Underground is the best, highest quality pro wrestling TV show produced in the world today. And if you are, more of a mainstream person, they, in fact, last night, Tuesday evening, at midnight Central Standard Time on SportsCenter, ESPN had several, I believe it was 4 of the current stars, performers in Lucha Underground. They had Melissa Santos, the ring announcer, And then they also had Johnny Mundo, formerly known as John Morrison in the WWE world. They had Rey Mysterio, who is a new wrestler to sign with Lucha Underground